All right, good evening, everyone. So, yep. So this is how your file is going to be, like basically. This is how your file is going to be like basically. Um,
Sorry, I can't see your screen. I don't know whether it's on.
can anybody else see my screen?
No, sir, we can't see your
Oh,
screen.
oh, probably. Oh, okay. So can I see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. So you still have the same. So what you're going to do is that same repo that you created. That same repo, the continuation of that repo, where people had Docker Compose and the rest, that same repo. That's why I told you if you don't do the last assignment, you won't be able to do this one and the next one. That's task 6. So if you don't do the last assignment, please go back and do it because that's where I'm going to catch a lot of people. You cannot skip it. Almost half of the people that did tax 4, in fact, this new tax 5, sorry, tax 4 is half of the people that did tax 3. I know that you are waiting for me to now bring tax 5 before you now jump and do it. It's not going to work like that. So in this tax 5, the same file that you had what they call it, that you had Docker Compose or YAML, your backend, your front end, and all whatnot. You are going to do the same thing here. So let me explain. First thing, when you want to create a workflow file, the first thing that you should do is create a folder called .github. .github is here. Create a folder called .github. Then inside the .github folder, create a folder called workflows. I hope getting me. Create a folder called workflows. Look at the pattern. Don't put GitHub and workflow, and then you coming to ask me why is my code not running. GitHub slash workflows. So that's the first thing you put. GitHub slash workflows inside. Now inside that workflows folder, you now create 2 folders. Now there's only front end here, front end.yaml. You can do front end ci.yaml, front end cd.yaml, back end ci.yaml, back end depending on the one. But my front end, this front end of YAML now is what will contain both my CI part and the CD part. We are doing only CI part in this uh in this part. When we now do AWS in the next class, we'll talk about servers, talk about how to create a server, the different types of servers and the rest, just AWS environment. That's when you will now do CD part. That's the final piece of this puzzle, where you will now, when you will now add a CI/CD pipeline to deploy to a server. So if you have not done the last test, this one and the next one, you will not be able to do the next one. Rather, you won't be able to do the next one. If you don't know the last one and this one, you won't be able to do the next one. So please try and catch up if you haven't. So this is front end. Usually we are doing front end now, but this is front end.yaml. Now inside this front end of YAML, now you can see how I define the pipeline. Now this is a typical pipeline. This is very, very good description of a pipeline. You can see the name of the pipeline. You can see it's front end CI/CD. Front end CI/CD. That's the name. You can name it anything. You can name it Peter CI/CD, Peter front end CI/CD, Peter Kini, Jose Maria CI/CD. You can name it anything. Then you now see on. Now this on now is we're trying to tell GitHub that this is the command. You should run the following commands under this when when it's time to run the pipeline. Now you see push here. There's push. This simply means that once the code is pushed to the branch main, branches, you see main. If you have more than one branch, probably you have a develop branch or a staging branch, you can put it branches staging. You understand? Branches staging. So, but this one's going to push it to the main branch. So whenever there's a push to the main branch, trigger this pipeline. Whenever there is a now this part now meaning that whenever there's a change to any file inside this front end folder, which is here, this front end folder. So whenever anybody modifies this front end folder and adds any change here, it should trigger the pipeline. That means if somebody comes and modifies back end, you should not touch it. This part is ideal for situations where it's working in a mono repo and then there are multiple developers doing front end and back end. You don't want a situation where the front end will push code and then the back end will trigger because you did not set these parts right. You understand? I've had such situation before. One economy gigs I got where the DevOps engineer there set it in such a way that he set it only on he set only this branch main. He set only this branch main. So whether back end push code or front end will trigger. If front end push code, as far as I said the branch, so the main branch is collecting has received a push, all of them will trigger, which doesn't make sense, especially when you're trying to set up a security and a secure and a solid pipeline. So this is part front end. Now pull request is another command for on. So on pull request is like when you're trying to merge from another branch into main. So you create a pull. I think I explained this in the Git part. You create a pull request to main. So when a pull request once a pull request has been created to main, you run the pipeline. You can also set another one too. This one too is also part on front end. So whenever the pull request involves a change in the front end, that's when you also run the pipeline. You can also do merge as well. So once a merge has taken place from another branch to main, should run the pipeline as well. Now, workflow dispatch. Workflow dispatch is if you don't want the trigger to be automatic. For example, you're doing testing, and you don't want the trigger to be you don't want a situation where for every push, it will trigger automatically. You put workflow dispatch. That means it is you that are going to turn on the light yourself. You understand? That's what workflow dispatch. It's not necessary, but me, I personally use it. You understand? It's not like I said, it's not necessary, but I personally use it because there's sometimes when I just want to go and turn the trigger on by myself. You understand? So, yeah. So build and deploy. Now you see environmental variables. This is where you will set your environmental variables. So there are some certain parts of the code that you won't want repeated. Probably if you are referencing image name, you won't want that image name, or if you're referencing username, you won't want that username to be always repeated in your code. So you just set it as an environmental variable. When you're deploying to a server on AWS, when we start doing AWS, you will when you server on AWS, you will put all the credentials, all the necessary setups in this environmental variable to be able to SSH into the server and deploy the application. Now there are two environmental variables here. There's a registry, which is docker.io. Docker.io is the registry that we are connecting to. So we have to set that as an environmental variable. The image name, we're creating the image name KHPrac front end, which is I name it as Codehouse Prac front end, which is just a kini. it's just a very, very lame way. You understand? It's a very, very lame name I gave, but you can name it anything. You can name it KC front end. You understand? Or Peter front end, Elijah front end, anyone you want to name it. Then you now see jobs. Now, jobs is where the real cocoa is. You understand? Jobs is where the real cocoa is. Now, the name of this job is build and deploy. That's the name of this job here. Build and deploy. You can name it build. So ideally, you can name it build. This build and deploy is like, it's just a name that we gave, build and deploy. Then runs on Ubuntu later. That means if your GitHub is going to set a server on its own, like an internal server that is used to run your code. That's what Ubuntu latest. That server will run Ubuntu, and Ubuntu is ideal because it is, it is the best way to actually run code. I don't know. I don't have any underlying explanation to give regarding that, but that's the way it is basically. So there are situations where you would want to change your own server. You want to change your own server. You don't want to run Ubuntu's own, GitHub runner, which is this Ubuntu latest. So you can use like your own server. You can probably use your on-premise server or something, and then get it done. You can use your on-prem server and get it done. So yeah. So check out code. Checkout code is this what we do git checkout. So the checkout is we are trying to now that we have integrated our application into the runner. So it's the runner now that is doing all of those dirty work that we're doing on our terminal the last time. It's now doing git checkout main. So it is going to the main branch and running all this code because we have specified main here. Was specified main here, so it is going to the main branch to run the code for us. You understand? It pulls your repository code into the runner. It will pull your repository code into the runner and then run the start doing everything by itself. Now, set up Docker build X. The good thing about GitHub Actions is that there are marketplace installations that you can use. So in a typical example, this setup Docker build X could have been that part where you install Docker. When you were doing Docker locally on your computer, when you were installing Docker locally on your computer, what you did was the whole sudo apps install Docker, kini, all those setup. Because why? It's on your own computer personally. But this one, since it's a runner, there are marketplace runners that you can use to set up Docker on your runner. Instead of having to write all those shell scripts on your pipeline. So this is one of them. You go to the GitHub Marketplace and pick out a runner that you can that is suitable for you. So this is it. So this part now sets up Docker on our runner. You understand? Installs Docker now. You now see you can see uses Docker. So Docker is the marketplace vendor. So the same way Docker has its own repository, it also has a GitHub Marketplace account. So ensure that the vendor you are using is also is legit, because this is Docker now. It has its own. So you are using Docker's own marketplace, which is setup build X action that at v3. So this is how it looks like. Then let me see if I can get home. Okay, like this. Yeah, I'm trying to open the GitHub Marketplace, so I'll explain better. But anyways, let's continue. Now the next one is Docker, log into Docker Hub. So now this is Docker, the same thing, log action. So that whole Docker login -u Postgres, sorry, -u, then your username and then P, your personal access token. We have a marketplace action that you can adopt to get it done, which is login action. You adopt it. That does not see with. That means these are the variables that you have to provide for this to work, which is your username and password. Now, Docker does not by default use password because of security. So it uses personal access token. I'm sure you're aware of that from the people that did the last assignment. So, but you cannot paste your personal access token here because it will be a security flaw. It will enable people to access your, your images, which will be very, 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 very bad as a DevOps engineer. So what should you do? Place your Docker Hub token in the GitHub secrets. So your GitHub secret is what we house your token. You understand? GitHub secret is what will house your token. Then your username too, you can place it there for for security. Or you can also place your username under this environmental variable and call it out here. So once you place it under here, you just do env Docker username. But since it's in secret, you do secret.docker username. So this is the key. When you're setting all this thing, you see key and value. This is the key. The key is Docker Hub username. The value is your Docker Hub username. The key is here is Docker Hub token. Then the value is what? Token. Then you now see what? Build and push image. Build and push image. So it still uses the same Docker vendor as well, /build push action. So this is it, version 5. Now you see context here. This context is trying to tell you that the Docker file that you need to build this thing is in ./frontend, which is current directory /frontend. That means you should go to frontend here and find this. So it will come here and pick this Docker file and do all this work. Then push through tags. It will tag it accordingly. So it will be .env registry, which is here, docker.io /secrets.username /secrets.image.latest. So this latest now is where you put your version. But since we're not doing version in here, you do what? Latest. You understand? You do latest here. If you're pushing probably a brief change, you can do like a GitHub SHA, which is you can use the GitHub for every push that you do, GitHub has like a unique 6-digit code that attached to it. You can add that 6-digit code here and to make it very, very unique. Now let me share my screen again. So can people see my screen? I guess you all can see my screen now. It's coming up. So in this screen now you have the GitHub Marketplace. There are a lot. GitHub Actions. GitHub Actions Marketplace. You can see GitHub Actions Marketplace. You can pick from anything. Now you can see this build and push that we just used is here. The fact that since it's also part of GitHub, you don't need to do any stitching and installing. All I just need to do is just add it. Now you can see it's giving us a guide, which is login Docker Hub. You can see Docker login, set up QEMU. We didn't use this one. Set up Docker build X. You can do it either before or after. Then build push action. It will do the build push with push through. This push means that it's actually push the code and then send the confirmation. So that it only it will push when a push has been done. It will not send like a confirmation that it has been pushed. Yup. So merely there's a build, it automatically like pushes it and it generates a tag depending on whatever you want to set. So this is the marketplace. And the one thing with GitHub Actions is that it's not one size fits all. So you can modify your pipeline to look different. But the end goal, you can still use, if you want to use shell scripting within the pipeline, you can still use it. The only downside, the only thing is that one, it may be a bit, stagnant because you have to do the whole testing. You have to go through the whole testing to ensure it works, unlike the marketplace ones where they're already sure that it works. So they just push it. Understand? So these are all the actions, and you can use all of them. All of them. All of them. No single one left behind. All of them. So yeah. So now that you have created this pipeline, so now that you have created this pipeline, this is the simplest CI pipeline that exists because our code is very lightweight. But I just wanted to show you how easy it is, because this is what to constitute of your your tax. So this is front end main, this is main, this is front end. Now, like I said, you don't have to do it like this. You can decide not to set environmental variables, you can decide to hard code them, you can just be dynamic, be dynamic about your approach. Now let's go to the okay. Let's go to GitHub. Now you can see this one is when I ran the pipeline earlier to show that it works. You can see that this is your repo. Now, if you're building from scratch, most of you are not building from scratch. Most of you are using the old. Now you're going to submit the old repo that. So what I would advise you to do in order to in order not to have like stale assignments, please listen. Please listen. Pay attention, for your trainer has something to say. Okay, sorry about that. But if now you can choose to create a new branch. So what I would advise you to do is Now, since you have submitted the old assignment, now create a new branch as your name or something else. Then when you're writing the pipeline, oh, when you're writing the pipeline, do on push branch, that's your branch name, both for front end and back end. So your main, which you already used to start the tax for, which is the previous tax, will still be intact. Create a new. The reason why I did this one because I can. You get. So I can, I can modify my own. But you that is submitting your assignment, create a new branch. Create a new branch. Create a new branch. Oh, I'm saying it now because some people now are going to do rubbish. Create a new branch. Once you create a new branch, do your push branch, the name of your branch. Then push to your branch. Don't push to main. Please. Now this is taking you back to branches in Git. You already learned Git. That's why we learned Git first. Create a new branch and do that. When you create a new branch, that's when you now do this new branch. Now, since you're creating it from main, the new branch will still have front end with Dockerfile, back end with Dockerfile, and the rest. Now, modify the new branch. So you're not submitting a branch main, you're submitting a branch XYZ branch. I'm not going to teach you how to create a new branch because there are videos on our older classes that you can reference. Just create a new branch and then build from this. Is the main is the default branch, but create a new branch and do it. Now, this is how your GitHub will look like normally. When you create a new branch, you come here. Then once you have done all the CI/CD, immediately you push, you come to these actions here. You come to actions. Now when you come to actions, you now see, let's delete this workflow. But first of all, let me push this code. I don't know if it will work again because I modified some things, but all part of learning. So let's do git add dot git commit modified. So I'm sure people are familiar with these steps. I'm not going to explain what I'm doing again. One file change, then git push dash upstream origin main. Your own origin will be the name of your branch. Good. Now it has pushed. Now once you push, you you see new actions. You can, let me delete this one. Delete one. Now, once you push, since we did what? Workflow dispatch. Since we did workflow dispatch, once you push for the first time, since we did workflow dispatch, listen, since we did workflow dispatch, this is what you're going to see. Normally, if you don't do workflow dispatch, you will see your job running at the spot, as in starting immediately. But since we want to trigger it by ourselves, which is not compulsory that you must do, you can still decide because it's a preference. You can still decide that once it has been pushed, it should start running immediately. You understand? But me, I like using workflow dispatch a lot. So once I do run workflow, you now see a toggle, you now see branch main. Now ensure that your own is on your own branch, which is the branch that you selected, branch Peter. You get. Once you run it, you now see run workflow. Once you see run workflow, you see workflow run was successfully what requested. Just that one another thing with GitHub Actions is that it does not. Okay, it's started running now. You see front end CI/CD is running. To give you this yellow, you click on it, you see build and deploy. Now once we do one, this is our CI now. This is our CI, build and deploy. This is our CI. When we now want to put it inside a server and run it, we'll do another connection to this now. You understand? It will now be probably we can change this one to build, change the next one to deploy. But I just put this one build and deploy to Docker Hub. So now it's running, it's running. Your code will most likely fail. Prepare for your pipeline to fail. Prepare for your pipeline to. This pipeline is going to pass because I've done this. I've failed. I've run this code multiple times, so it most likely will pass. Except I changed something while I was teaching, but it's going to pass. Like, you can see all the mede work that you did when you were doing on your computer. All those things that you were doing, done, build 2 out of 6. All those things that you were doing on your computer. For those of you that did the last assignment, you can see all the all the dirty work on the ground is showing you. Showing you. Now this is the new stage. Showing you everything. Now it has finished. You see post, it's going to do cleanup. This post build, this is the post login. It's going to clean up all the things that he did. Clean up. Do all the cleanup and then complete job. So you can see once this thing shows green, once your pipeline shows green, it must show green to show. Now must not even show green, no. Sometimes it must show green, but you see that it is not in the destination. So you also have to check. Now, first of all, before we go to Docker Hub, let's go to secrets. Let's go to secrets. Now, remember when I told you that you will store secrets? Now you will go to settings. Before someone will come and tell us how did you teach us in the class, I'm going to block that person if that person asks me that question again. You go to settings, go to actions, secrets and variables. Go to actions. Now you can see Docker Hub token. It's not good if I open it, it's not going to open because that's why it's secret. Now you can see the secret here. The secret here. The secret here. Docker Hub secret username is going to pick from here. Now let's edit this one. Now, which has been that is not necessary to edit, but I just want to show you once you edit it, you can start from beginning to add a new one, but I'm just editing it so I will not have to start. This is my Docker Hub username. I'll update secrets. For update secret, I'm not going to see this. I need to put my password. So I added my password. I've updated this. Okay, you can see last updated now. This one 4 hours ago when I was building the whole pipeline. So yeah, you can also set environmental variables as well here. If you don't want to set it on your pipeline, probably you have sensitive environmental variables that you don't want to keep, on your repo. You can set them up here as well. You can set them up here as well. Put the name, put the value, and the rest. So this is just basically what you need. So I need front end and I need back end. We don't need DB this time because DB is already pushed. So I need front end, I need back end. Now, what you're going to do unique. No, I'm not going to give you that one now. I'll give you that one when you are deploying. When you're deploying the CI/CD. So what I just need you to do now is what I just need you to do for this test. It's a very, very simple task. So if you can do 4, 5, and 6, it's very simple. What I need you to do for this task now is to automate those whole things you did. Front end, back end, to push to Docker Hub. Finish. You need DB. Now, what I'm going to do for the next task, which I'm going to prepare your mind for now. For the next task, now that you have pushed, the pipeline will still contain push to Docker Hub. But this time, you are going to update, when you push to Docker Hub, you're going to update your Docker Compose file with the latest image. You understand? Now, after the update is done, then you will now SSH into a server and deploy. So you must show that when you put the server IP address on your browser, the application should show. That's the next task. I'm giving you expo now to prepare. So this one now, just write the simple push to Docker Hub CI/CD and submit. Ensure that the same name that is in your pipeline is the same name in Docker Hub. In fact, go and delete the one you created in the last class. I don't even want to try. Don't delete it. You can use a different name, but ensure that the name that you specify in your pipeline is a different name from what is on your Docker Hub. I'm sorry, it's the same name rather. Before I say it's a different. Now look at your Docker Hub now. If I come back here, this is my my repo. You can see last pushed 6 minutes ago while we're talking. That push that just happened now that went good. This is it. Last push 6 minutes ago. Latest. Your one should not contain latest too. Your one should contain like a number, probably the. Now what you should do is that GitHub Actions usually has like an SAH, like they call it an SAH. This thing. Look at it. Yes. So this number. This is like a tag. Every build has a tag. Every build has a tag. So this number now, this number should appear, this commit number now should appear here. That one is left for you to do that one by yourself. I'm not going to teach you everything. Instead of latest, that commit number will appear here. This is the commit number that should appear. For every push you make, the commit number that will be built, that the application will be built from, should appear here. I'm going to monitor this thing. I'm going to watch your repo. You understand? Then, so that when, like in the next task, when you're doing Docker Compose, you now update the image in your Docker Compose to that commit tag, so that it will go and pick it from your Docker Hub and pull. So for every time you push, that's the CI/CD. So for every time a developer pushes their code, it will build the code, deploy on Docker Hub, update the Docker Compose, and then go to the server and update it and then run it. That's the pipeline. That's what they call a pipeline. That's the infinity sign I showed you in the first class. So it's a continuous loop. When once the developer pushes the code, it goes updates this way, Canada, and deploy. That's why you can see, wake up in the morning tomorrow and you can see the Access Bank have changed their logo, or WhatsApp has changed their icon. This is basically the foundation of whatever is happening there. That's why you can open your own app today and say, Instagram just changed their logo, or Instagram just updated their app. That is CI/CD is the underlying technology that they use there. So yeah, like I said, give me front end and back end. This task should be very, very easy now. This is not a task that should take you more than 1 weekend. Give me front end and back end. Does anyone have any question concerning the tags and concerning the the future kini. Concerning the future tax and the past tax that are combined together. Note, if you don't do the last one, you cannot do this one. No. If you don't do the last one, and now it's here I'll catch people that used to copy. Yes, it's here I'll catch people that used to copy. Most of you that are going to copy someone's Docker compose, there's only someone's terminal and pasted. It's here I'm going to catch you. So be warned and be wise. If that Docker file you felt that you wrote did not work, you just went to copy someone's terminal. It's today that you prove it that it will work. And it must work. You must show that green. See that green that I showed, that front SCI, that green check mark. You must show it. Yeah. Does anyone have any question?
Okay. Good evening, sir.
Please ask. Okay.
Good evening. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Oh.
Yeah. Sorry, I have some technical questions, sir.
Ask.
Okay,
Door
sir.
is open.
So where you said please just move the cursor to your code forward. Just move it up. Okay, where we have path. Now you talked of when we are updating to only front end. So I want to ask first, since we are doing for front end and back end, does it mean we will include front end here under this part?
Yes, in the back end you put back end.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I understand. Then
This is for
then
front
when
end. So sorry, let me go. Let me.
okay.
So this code shows that let me just interpret it in English. That this is when a developer pushes to this branch, this pipeline should only trigger when that change that the developer push is on the front end. So it's only when the front end code that was changed, that's when this pipeline should be pushed. So if somebody comes and change back end code, it will not make sense that someone will come and change back end code, push to main, and then front end pipeline will be running. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Good. So it will not make sense that someone push code to front end, then push code to front end, because if you remove this part now, it will be only on branch main. That means if both front end and back end, if they push to main, the two pipelines will run simultaneously, which doesn't make sense logically and at scale. You get? Because if you're not trying to push code that millions of people are using, imagine constantly updating the back end as the front end is being changed. For example, now someone come and say, I don't like the color. You change it from blue to green, and then you push. Once you push, the back end now builds again from scratch. It doesn't make sense. You understand? So that's why this part is here. So that only when front end is changed that this front end pipeline should build. If the front end is changed, back end will not be built. If the back end is changed, the back end pipeline that you write will be built. This front end will not be built. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Good. So you have another question.
Okay, sir. Where you said we will create a new branch and then you do on push. Please, can you throw more light to that?
So for example, now let's just say, you're making me explain this thing I was avoiding explaining. But no, you're not changing anything on the front end. You leave the front end like that. Imagine you're not the one that is working on the front end. Leave the front end, but just set these settings, because it's standard procedure. When you start working, this is basically what you do. So leave the setting. You're not changing anything on the front end. Only thing added to the front end is the Docker file, which you have created previously. So now let's say Git checkouts. I was trying not to explain this thing, but you want to make me explain. Now you do checkout. Now the branch moves from main to dev. Okay, please click on dash B. Dash B is to create the new branch if it does not exist. Now we have switched to the dev branch. You understand? What you come and do is on branch dev, on here dev. That means when you push to the dev branch, git, I'm not going to push it. When you push to the dev branch, git kini push origin dev. On the push to the dev branch, that's when this thing will trigger. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Good. So any more question? Can also
Yes,
do
sir.
multiple. You can also do multiple as well. You can do on push to main, dev, kini. But we are using main for now. On you for you people's own, you're using the branch that you created. The reason why I tell you to create another branch because number one, we are going back to our learning of Git. So people will know how these things that people learned previously is applied. Two, I don't want people to tamper with the things that you submitted in with the branch that you submitted in class 4, stage 4. You understand? That's why I say create a new branch. Submit that new branch. You understand? If I see main in your work, you are not going to get a full score. I'm just letting
Okay,
you.
so that means in our work where you have branches, it will be the new branch that we put under where you
Yes,
have.
now when you create a new when you navigate to a new branch, your URL will change now. Your URL in your browser will change to put the branch name on your URL. Then you
Yeah.
copy it and submit. So when I click on the submission, I will see that you take me to your new branch instead of the main branch.
Okay, sir.
Do
Okay,
you
sir.
understand?
Yes, sir. I understand. So, sir, where you have image name, I can say that this is a new Docker repo.
Yes, image name. This is the image name that will go and be created in Docker Hub. Like, can see, look at
Okay.
the image name, same thing.
Are we creating a new Docker repo also, or we still use the previous one?
Yes, you're creating a new one. You're creating a new one. You're not using the previous one. You're creating a new one. You're pushing to a new one, not the previous one. So create a new name. It's the same image, but you're creating a new one.
Okay.
You understand?
I understand, sir.
So you can take this blueprint from this one. The only difference is that change the branch name. That's the only difference. Then when you're doing backend, the same thing too. You can do this thing backend, the name. But I just want to see that your pipeline works. You can add some extra pizzazz to this. Probably you can go to the GitHub Marketplace and see what you can add. Probably LinkedIn, or probably just look for what to add to make the pipeline richer. You understand? You can get bonus points for that. Then the end goal is that you have to push it to Docker Hub, and you must show your Docker Hub that you pushed it.
All right. Thank
Does
you, sir.
anyone have any more questions? Zero. Please, can you write your full name on the listing? Please, okay. Victor Robin. Is this the name you use for the LMS? Elijah. Okay.
Sorry. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, who's speaking?
Okay, my name is Bashir, sir. I don't know if you've marked my previous tasks. I'm kind of lost.
I've marked everybody. Just now I'm opening it and I'm seeing Karen that's submitting by 5 o'clock today.
I don't know
But
this
apart,
task, so I've not gotten to this stage. I don't know
you have not got.
this.
When was the last tax that you did?
About 21 days ago, I just checked my LMS.
21 days ago. Wow, Karen actually did
Yes.
very well. The downside is that you submitted late, so you will not get full mark. That's one thing with some late submission.
Can I put my name here? Maybe you can help me check and mark it so I can do the next
So
task.
wait, say the last. What was the last tax you did? Which stage did you do?
Let me check. I think week 4.
Okay, I'm not really comfortable with going back to mark tax that I've already passed. But anyways, let me go back. Wait, there are no submissions for.
I'm just seeing those tasks now, but they are not coming up on my. I don't know to explain.
All the
I'm
previous
seeing
weeks.
it, but I can't. I'm seeing the tax, but I can't. I have not progressed to be able to submit it.
Hold on. You can drop your name on the Discord channel. This is Victor Robin. Also drop your name as well on the Discord channel. Then we'll
Okay,
look
sir.
into it. Me, I'm
All
not
right.
seeing all the tags I'm seeing here. The previous tags I'm seeing here, they are pending submissions. So I don't know.
I'll drop it right away now.
What the tags I'm
Thank you.
seeing here, no pending submissions. We should start. So yeah, I've uploaded the tags for today in the Abdul Samad. Yeah, your hand is up. Hello? I can't hear you. Your network is breaking.
If you are going to create, you said we are going to create a new front end and back end repo, right? Can you hear me, sir?
On Docker Hub, yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
We're going to
Yes,
first. Okay, that means that we are going to push the front end image first before doing the task. Am I right?
which one is push the front end image? They are all part of the task now, front end and back end. Anyone you forget to push first.
Yeah, I know. I mean that once let's say we first what's it called? We first copy the repo from GitHub. That means that we are going to push the front end
You're
first.
not copying any
The
repo
front.
from GitHub. You're continuing from your last assignment.
Okay.
You understand? If you're copying a repo from GitHub, that means you are going to back to do the last task. So this task assumes that
Yeah.
you have done the last one, which is Docker Compose and
Okay.
all those things that you did the last time. What you're just going to do is create a new, I've made it clear now, create a new branch from the last assignment you did. Then add this CI/CD front end on YAML and back end on YAML. You understand? Do you hear me? Abdul Samad, do you hear me? Your network
I
here.
get now. Yes, I heard it, sir. I heard you. I heard you loud and clear.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. He just said something. I want to clarify. He said something about creating a front end and back end image. Does it mean that for Docker we are creating two different images, one for front end, one for back end?
You're creating two different images now. One for front end and one for back end. That's what you created in the last assignment.
I did. I created an image.
That's what we're doing. We're practically doing the same thing we did last time, just that we're using CI/CD. We're using GitHub Actions to do it.
Okay, sir.
You understand me?
Yeah.
Practically doing the last thing that we did, this thing that we did the last time.
So, but I thought the last time we created only one image and used for the two, both front end and back end.
How can you create one image and use for the two? How?
I don't know.
When you created the front end, didn't you push it to Docker Hub?
Yeah, we pushed.
Then you created the back end, didn't you push it to Docker Hub as well?
I pushed.
What is now the one image there?
Okay. Okay, I understand.
Bros, I beg you. That's the same thing we're doing this time. We're doing it in another way again. This is an automated way because nobody will pay you to go and be doing Docker push that you on your terminal. Nobody will pay you to do that. I only taught you that because it's the prerequisite and this is a beginner class. But at scale, nobody will pay you to do that. Everybody will pay you. They will pay you to set up pipelines because pipelines are automated. You understand? So I've set up the front end for you. You understand? I've set up the front end for you. What you're going to do now is set up the back end and push. Create a repository on Docker Hub. Carry your personal access token. You know how you did it the last time? That your personal access token that you created, that you use for Docker login. Carry it and put in GitHub secrets. Carry it and put in GitHub secrets. You understand? So when you log in, during the pipeline process, it will log in and then build the image and push. That green must be there. And when that green shows, you now show it on your what? Show it on your Docker Hub, front end image, back end image. I'll give you the sign. It must not be latest. You can use the commit message, the commit tag to put it there, but it must not be latest. I think let me even change that thing in the tag. I put all latest, but now I'm going to remove it.
Sir,
So it must.
please, oh. Sir, please, oh. Please, oh.
Please, oh. I can't put latest in companies this thing now. When you get job and they pay you to write a pipeline, go and put latest. When you put latest and the app crash, and then they fire you, come and find me. So everything I'm telling you here is things that is applicable. In as much as we are in the beginning of we are at beginners class, we will not skip anything that involves telling you things that are applicable, like what I did in the Q&A, where I told you about not deploying to what they call it, not deploying env files and all those stuff. There are things that are applicable in the real world, so you need to start from scratch. If the foundation is shaking, what would it now be like? You understand? So I've actually removed it. So there's a way you extract the commit tag and put on your image. You must show it that this is what you did. So yeah. Any more questions, comments, observations, etc.?
So I have one other question.
Okay.
Hello.
Can hear you. I said okay.
So the question is, I was going through the curriculum, and I saw that there was there's no Terraform or Kubernetes. Are we going to do that, or I just wanted to confirm?
We will do a little bit of Terraform, most likely,
Sir?
but we're not doing Kubernetes. We will do a little bit of Terraform if
Sir?
time permits. Can you hear me? Please, can anyone hear me?
Yes, I
Yes,
can hear you,
sir.
sir.
So why is this guy shouting, sir?
Yes, we can hear.
Okay. So as I said, we'll do a bit of Terraform, but we're not going to do Kubernetes in this cohort because it's a beginner class. I'm not teaching Kubernetes. That's why I taught Docker Compose for orchestration instead of Kubernetes. It is the knowledge that you get from Docker Compose and you use to understand Kubernetes in advanced class. Do you understand what I'm saying? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. But when we're doing now the class that we're going to do, we're going to do 80% of just click, click, click. 20% or 10% say or 10% say that's what we'll now use Terraform. But that's not the bone of contention. We're going, like I said, this is a foundational class. Everything we're doing is foundational. If you don't know how to manually create it, you will not know how to automate it. That's just a simple rule. You can't be going to learn Terraform to create an EC2 instance when you cannot create an EC2 instance manually. Do you understand? So you will emphasize more on the main bone of contention, which is the manual setup. Then we'll now add the icing on the cake with Terraform. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You cannot automate what you cannot manually provision. Like check out things, what all the things we have been learning since. We're starting from grassroots from the barest of
Sorry,
them.
sir.
Yeah.
You mentioned EC2 instance. Is that not for AWS?
Yes.
I wanted to ask if learning Azure is the whether it makes sense with like
Yeah, you can learn
DevOps.
Azure, but for this curriculum, we're using AWS. Me, I know Azure.
The reason
I
I'm
know.
asking is I just finished 3 entities cloud this thing, what they call
Okay.
it, computing course, and they used Azure, and it was
You
kind
can
of
learn
easy.
AWS here now. It's a good thing. If you know Azure, you can learn AWS. You know multi-cloud.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. I
Thank you,
know
sir.
Azure. I do. I use Azure. I use Google Cloud. In fact, I use Google Cloud for my 9 to 5. I use Azure and AWS for contract. So I know the three of them. But for this curriculum, it's AWS.
AWS. All right. Thank you, sir.
Mm. So if you know Azure, it will be a very good plus for you because it will make you, multi-skilled. So yeah, any more questions? So another note of warning again, please do not copy people's assignment. Do not, I beg. I see that because I put a very stern warning about copying assignment. The submission rates of this last tax reduced drastically. It's almost at 50% from the previous tax. Will I say it's a good thing? No. I don't know whether it's because of the remaining 50% that did not submit were probably guilty that they. I don't know what I will call it, but submission rate is 50% less from stage 3. So the tax of stage 3 to the tax of stage 4 is a 50% decline, which is not good. So please, if you can't,
Sorry to interrupt you, sir.
yeah.
Sorry to ask this stupid question. Which week are we? Because on my own dashboard, I am seeing that I'm in stage 3 completed. Or stage 4 is grayed out, stage 5 is grayed out. I don't know.
Stage 3 completed. Stage 4.
Yes,
That's tax.
not tax. My classroom stage, I don't know how it works. I think
Supposed to be
the
in this
the
week.
marking is
The
or
marking.
the promotion is always like a week late for me, even before like I am complaining. I think I've complained like once or twice about this kind of thing. I don't know. The last time I was doing it, I was trying to meet up because not because I was not trying to do the assignment, but because the was like a week late. I don't know how to explain it.
And just you can add code camp on the Discord and complain. Program manager. Because the one in charge
All
of
right.
promotion. So that one is not in my jurisdiction. Sorry about that.
All right, sir.
Mm. So yeah, so we're actually so this tax now will promote from stage 5 to stage 6. For those people now that get to stage 8, stage 8 now is the project phase. After stage 8 now is the project phase, where I'll leave my hands off. I'll leave my hands off, and then people will be assigned to groups. One front end, one back end, one designer, and then DevOps. So all these things I applied now, you people will now know how to implement it. So yeah, so please, I feel like as I complained about the high rate of copying last time, the, the submission dropped by a whooping 50%, like 50% decline, which is not good. So please, if you have an issue, instead of copying yourselves and uploading, reach out. Not reach out to me, reach out to your classmates. It's not this whole thing is not, nobody's getting first position here. You understand? Reach out to people so you can learn it properly and then do your assignment. You understand? So yeah. Um, any more question?